the traditional beliefs of society have never thought of before. But by the very nature of being new, they're in opposition to society. And the Fountainhead shows that very often these innovative things have to clash with the consensus, with the majority, in order to get the new ideas accepted. And then, unfortunately, the people come up with these new ideas who will most benefit human beings often are tormented, opposed and tormented by the very society that will benefit from the new ideas. So the truth is not gained by democratic means. Truth is not, that's the problem with the main problem with Al Gore's claim and the environmentalist movement's claim today about a consensus on man-made global warming. The minor point is that claim is false. That's the minor point. That there's any number of climate scientists who heatedly disagree with various aspects of it. That's the minor point. The major point is science is not done by consensus. That's the key point. I mean, if science is done by consensus, there would be no Copernicus, there would be no Galileo, there would be no Pasteur, there would be no innovative thinkers who came up with new ideas and carried us forward. I wouldn't go so far as to say if the consensus is against you, you must be doing something right, but it's close to that. If society is against you, you must be doing something right. Yeah, Robert?
I just want to follow up on talk about the Founding Fathers, and some time ago we had a conversation in which you said that the Fountainhead is in fact the Declaration of Independence, moral Declaration of Independence, and how this is something that probably if the Founding Fathers were alive today, or if this was written back then, that they would agree with.
Yeah, absolutely. He's pointed out that in a certain way, the Fountainhead is the moral Declaration of Independence, or deeper than that, it's the cognitive Declaration of Independence. I mean, the idea, there have been people historically who certainly upheld the principle of independent thought, and who recognized that the people who think outside the box, the people who have new ideas, and who very often are opposed by society, that these are the ones who are the greatest heroes of history, that these are the ones who carry us forward. But Ayn Rand gave us a comprehensive, systematic, and brilliantly artistic dramatization of that principle in the Fountainhead, which I don't think can ever be ignored again in history. That this is a love poem to the independent minds who carry us. Well, it's literally what the Fountainhead is. It's a love poem, thanking them and, of course, giving them a sanction of their rectitude. That's really, yeah, I think this is a cognitive, and the Fountainhead represents a cognitive and moral Declaration of Independence. This is the credo for the independent thinkers. And Roark is not just a fictional character in a book, nor is he a fictionalized embodiment of Frank Lloyd Wright or somebody like that. Roark is the archetype of independent thinkers anywhere, anytime in the past, present, or future. He is the archetype for the independent thinkers, and this book provides their moral validation. So. So the key question here then between the Keatings and the Roarks is, what's the basis, what's your reality? Is your reality nature, or is it society? Do you seek truth by looking to the world, or to the beliefs of the group? And Keating, of course, to play the game, you have to be on this society as reality premise. And the competition amongst players then is to see who can most zealously, amongst at least the conformist version of this social primacy of consciousness school. The competition is to see who can most zealously prostrate themselves before others, who can be the most enthusiastic bootlicker, who can most fervently obey his master, who can kowtow most ardently to others. And in a competition of this nature, Peter Keating's unbeatable. Always be what people want you to be. His first meeting with Toohey is a classic example of that. He's never met him. He desperately wants Toohey to like him, because Toohey's the rising power in architectural criticism. And Toohey, of course, the spider in the web, wanting to make out what this particular fly is like. Toohey doesn't know who. The question in Toohey's mind at that first meeting: who is Peter Keating? We have the Cosmo-Slotnick building. Is Peter Keating the guy who actually designed the plan of the Cosmo-Slotnick building, this brilliantly innovative plan? In effect, is he Howard Roark? Or is Peter Keating the guy who slapped all of this classical facade and motif onto, onto the building? In effect, what Toohey wants to find out here is this guy Howard Roark, or is he Guy Francon? That's what Toohey wants to find out. And so Toohey finds out who Keating is in a brilliant display, a virtuoso display of second-handedness. He finds out who Keating is and takes over his soul in 30 seconds. Keating comes in, Toohey asks him, how do you do, Mr. Keating? What do you think of the Temple of Nike Apteros? And he watches. Takes him off guard. He watches. And Keating says, how do you do, Mr. Toohey? What do I think of? What? Toohey watching. Okay, Keating knows nothing about the Temple of Nike Apteros. He says, I'm sure you haven't overlooked that little gem of Greek culture. You know, this beautiful piece of work, blah, blah, praises it. He's watching. And Keating says to him, oh, yeah, the Temple of Nike Apteros, of course. That was always my favorite, too. And Toohey says, really? I thought you'd say that. I was certain you'd say. Notice that Toohey has found out within 30 seconds that Keating's a bootlicker, that Keating will say anything, fawn over anybody in order to get people's approval, the approval of somebody, authority figure, architectural critic like Toohey. And Toohey now controls Keating. So for the rest of his life, Toohey owns Keating. 30 seconds. Toohey is a master. He's an absolute master. You have to admire his artistry. And notice the response Toohey would have gotten from Roark. Assuming that Roark had never heard of the Temple of Nike Apteros, Roark would have said, Mr. Toohey, I never heard of the Temple of Nike Apteros. I haven't formed any evaluation on it. And Toohey would know right away, this is not my cup of tea. What Keating shows us right away, I think this is like on page 220 something. This scene. This is the soul, absolute soul of a conformist. Its ruling principle is render obedience to others, whether to mommy, or to one's professors, or to other architects, or to the taste of the public, or to the architectural critics, for then they will take care of you. And ultimately, the conformist wants the tribe or the group or the society to take care of him. He craves paternalistic, cradle-to-grave maintenance, and he is eager to follow Big Brother. Now observe that this is not, I mentioned this before, but let me repeat it before we move on. We're almost done with Keating. Observe this is not the method of religion. This is not the method of the supernatural version of the primacy of consciousness. The religionist follows God. He obeys God, not the group. And throughout history, there have been many devoutly religious people who've stood up against the group to stand by what they believe to be the Word of God. Thomas More is one illustrious example who defied the king and the whole mechanism of the state because he thought what Henry VIII was demanding of him was ungodly, was what violated his Catholic principles. This is distinctively the Keating-type conformist. This is distinctively one variation, one variant of Kant's social version of the primacy of consciousness theory. Conformity is a widespread phenomenon in our society. For example, the Sinclair Lewis character Babbitt has become a cultural archetype. Babbitt, of course, is a 20th century American example of conformity. And millions of readers of The Fountainhead recognize the Peter Keating mentality immediately. I mean, I taught business ethics at Marymount College for a dozen years. We used The Fountainhead as the main text in that course. And it was a weekend college. It was adults, women's college, mostly women. And every semester, at least one, and these were 30, 40, sometimes 50-year-old students, every semester there's at least one, guaranteed, sometimes more, but at least one student who'd come running up to me before class, waving a copy of The Fountainhead and yelling at me, "My boss is Peter Keating!" And Ayn Rand captured a recognizable type here, that this is a widespread phenomenon in our society. Every organization in the country, whether it's academic or religious or business or military or bureaucratic, etc., has its Peter Keatings, who are gravy train riders, who don't do the work and carry the organization forward, but who rise by playing the game, by kissing up, by fawning over superiors. And the reason for such widespread adherence to this method is that the social primacy of consciousness theory is the dominant metaphysics. It's the dominant view of reality in our society. Notice the very terminology. You've got to give back to society, because whatever you have, society gave to you. Society is omnipotent. The philosophers say knowledge is socially constructed. You know, that truth is derived socially, and you learn it from the time you're a little kid. There's no independent thinking, just looking at the world. You just learn, you imbibe what society teaches you. They even use the term, little kids are socialized. They talk about the poor being underprivileged. It means they're society's victims. Society hasn't given them the wealth equally. So wealth comes from society. Everything comes from society. So the reason we have such a multitude of worm-like Peter Keatings is that Kant's influence permeates the culture. If the social version of the primacy of consciousness is the new religion, if the social theory is the accepted metaphysics as it is, then Keating's method of operation is one appropriate means of seeking survival. And it stands to reason that if a large group of men compete to obey orders, then there will be some men seeking to give them. And that leads us to Ellsworth Toohey, the great villain of the Fountainhead. Because one other means of seeking survival then, on the view that the tribe controls reality, or that society is reality, is control the tribe. Somebody's got to be the tribal leader, right? Now, this leads us to Ellsworth Toohey. Thank you, Marilyn. I want to pontificate for a minute. Some people say I've been doing that all my life, so I might as well, why stop now? But in my judgment, Ellsworth Toohey is one of the greatest villains in the whole history of world literature. I think he's just a remarkable creation on the part of the author. I gotta say, thank you, Marilyn. I love Ellsworth Toohey. Not in the sense that I admire him, but I love what he does for the story. And the way he enriches the story. He's such a master villain. I mean, Roark is such an indomitable force that for anybody to be able to plausibly oppose him, he's got to have tremendous prowess in his own right. Notice there's no equivalent villain in Atlas Shrugged, for those of you who've read. The villains in Atlas Shrugged they're Wesley Mauch against John Galt. There's not much of a contest. As a friend of mine in Brooklyn might have said, it's a two-hit fight. I hit you, you hit the deck. It's not much of a struggle. But Ellsworth Toohey, although he fails abysmally in both of his I can't say value because he doesn't have any values, but in both of his goals in this story, he is a worthy foe. I mean, some of his scams are just brilliant. The Started Temple scam is just a brilliant scheme. He can't stop Roark from getting known. He can't stop Roark from becoming famous. So he's going to turn that fame into infamy. He's going to make Roark infamous. He's going to make him notorious as an enemy of religion. He's going to try and fight that. Well, Roark does, but it's a brilliant scheme nevertheless. In the whole history of literature, I mean, who can rival Toohey as a villain? There's Iago in Shakespeare's Othello, who's also a brilliantly conceived villain on the part of the author. There are very few, at that level who are both completely evil and brilliant in the way they go about setting up their schemes against the hero. So, with that as a plug for Ayn Rand's literary genius here and the creation of such an extraordinary villain, let's jump into the details of Toohey's life. That's why, when you